Hey guys, running Kimono here. So this morning, because I am a very observant person, it saved me getting scammed on eBay this morning of upwards of $1,000. This is a crazy story, and I have never seen this scam before, so I'm going to share it with you. Obviously, I can't share the people's names or anything really specific. But I'm going to share the details loosely of what happened, so hopefully you can follow what I'm saying. And if you sell on eBay, definitely watch this video because I was even surprised by it. I had to call eBay to try to get this thing rectified or like just some guidance on what to do. And then also I had to get in contact with the initial buyer, and it was just a friggin' mess. And 'tis the season, guys. Like, I got that really bizarre email last week from Netflix, and now this. And it is the season, and I think that a lot of these opportunistic scammers, they start this time of the year because a lot of us who sell on eBay, you obviously have a million other things on the go, especially if you don't have an eBay storefront store and you're just selling the odd thing here or there. I think that's where they're looking for the weakness, and they're looking for people like me who's not a professional seller. We don't have a store. We don't have sold 100,000 items, and they just like pounce on this sort of stuff. So the backstory to this is my husband had an art piece that he's had for some time, and he had collected it a while back, and he decided, hey, I'm going to part with it. And this was a legit print. It had all the paperwork and all that stuff, and he was asking $1,000, and he probably paid about that, maybe a little bit more. And this was years ago. And he somewhat changed the aesthetic of his office. And he's like, I really don't need this anymore. So he's one of these people that collects, and he can also part with his collection because I guess he'd rather have $1,000 in his pocket than, something on the wall. So anyhow, we listed this item on Monday night, and we listed it around 8 o'clock, and roughly around midnight, it sold. And at that point, we were both asleep, and a seller from the East Coast had bought it and paid right away. And the next morning, of course, you're going to ship it, right? Well, the next morning, both my husband and I had to get right to work, so the shipping of this item would be taking later in the day. And see, the scammer probably thought, oh, okay, well, if these people aren't shipping it right away and they're not a professional business, they're probably going to ship it at some other time or the next day. So this might be my window to just like sneak right in. So after this item sold, there is a way that you can watch eBay auctions but not bid on them. And if you are avid on eBay, you absolutely know that you can do that. You could just like slide right in and watch it. So if an auction in fact sells, you can still have the listing of how much it sold for, and you would have an idea that the item is gone, right? So anyhow, there was somebody else watching our print, and this man or woman or whomever was a scammer. So what they did was, hopefully you're still following me along. So the item sold, on Monday evening around 11, and my husband and I were both in bed. The fake, for the purpose of this video, we'll just say his name was John Doe, and he had 80 transactions, and he was from New Jersey, and hey, that makes sense. And we were going to get the package later in the day because my husband and I both work on Tuesday. We were not going to be able to ship this the first thing at the crack of crow. But the next morning at Tuesday at 8 a.m., so this morning, I got a message, and it was from a buyer. And we're just, again, going to use an anonymous name. We're going to call the buyer Pumpkin, and his rating was 0 because he had never bought anything. And Pumpkin was from New York City, and Jersey and New York, they're very close. So I thought, oh, this is kind of interesting. And so Pumpkin in his message basically said, hey, tragic emergency at my house. My grandfather's been in a car accident. This is really bad. You need to get me, you need to ship the art print because I'm not going to be home, and I really want this for Christmas. And oh my gosh, this is the worst time. Like, any way the scammer could make me feel really bad for him, and then just using like this tragic accident of his grandfather, like, it was crazy. Hadn't shipped it. So if I wasn't paying attention, because it's in the same area, and like, who really looks at the name of the buyer? You just look at it when you're usually printing out the label. I loosely could have been scammed out of this. And why eBay allows this window of like, if you had been watching an auction, you can later write to the buyer. I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish that only the winner could have communication with the buyer, because this is a hole that, scammers will really pounce on. And it's just absolutely bizarre. I never wrote back to the scammer. I did get in touch with eBay and they said, yeah, this is like a common scam. And then I got back to John Doe, our initial buyer, and he's like, no, that's not me. And I gave the name of the scammer. I'm like, do you know this person? Is this a friend of yours? Did somebody get in touch with you? He's like, I have no idea who that is. So it was just some person randomly hoping possibly that this art piece would show up to them if they tried to do this. So they just like swooped in and said, hey, spectacular emergency on my end. Can you send the paid for art piece to this address, and we're good for it. And again, dealing with this crazy emergency. You wouldn't believe how terrible this is. And I was like, oh yeah. So it's just one of those things, guys. Like, if you're selling something, especially this time of the year, pay attention, because if I wasn't paying attention and if I just grabbed that the shipping information off of that one email, I would have been out more than $1,000. So just something to think about. Hopefully this wasn't too confusing, but I'm even surprised how crazy this is. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.